Hi, my name's Dr. Bruce Baird, and I've been practicing dentistry for the last 36 years in Granbury, Texas. I want to share with you a new concept. It's 180 degrees different from what you've been talked to about before, and it really is about financing. As a doctor, you obviously want to perform more restorations and other procedures in your practice. You want to keep more of your customers and maximize profitability. Providing more financial options happens to be one of the best ways to kill these two birds with the same stone. But before we get to the specifics of how you can do that, let's look at what's happening in America today. Did you know that the average household income in the United States is $51,939? The average U.S. household credit card debt is $15,863, and that's climbing at $200 every quarter. Yes, 26% of Americans, they have no savings account, and the average American bank account balance is a meagerly $4,436. Now you might be asking, how is all this relevant? Stick with me. The average American can't afford the care that we're offering. That's right, they don't have the financial muscle for all the big treatment plans. So how does all this relate to your dentistry practice? The average dentist in the United States produces $405 an hour. That's actually up now from $375, but their net or take-home is actually going down every year. You probably already knew this, but if not, it's easy to see what is happening. The average cost of an all-ceramic crown is $1,200, and the average out-of-pocket cost for dental insurance from the patient is $950. That's the bill dental patients need to foot for a crown. Gordon Christensen says 9 out of 10 crowns today are done 1 crown at a time. That means your patient might need 3 or 4 or 5, but only 1 crown's gonna get done 9 out of 10 times. Why? Why 9 out of 10 crowns? Because they can't afford what you're offering. Let's just say that a U.S. dentist diagnosed 4 crowns. The first thing out of the patient's mouth is, well, my insurance cover this. So your team members at the clinic go ahead and answer nicely. Yes, absolutely. Your insurance will cover a portion of each treatment. Your portion is going to be $2,500. Unsurprisingly, the patient has a look on their face like, oh no. Then the next thing out of their mouth is, can we just do 1? And that's it. You set up the patient for just 1 crown. But why is that what's happening? Why are people asking, can I just do 1? Again, they can't afford what we're offering. They just can't do it. They could under a different, more friendly payment arrangement, but they can't do it $2,500 in cash. Did we say earlier that the average American only has $4,000 in their bank account and are $15,000 or $16,000 in debt? To operate at full house and maximize profitability, dentists need a sustainable solution to tackle this evident deficiency of purchasing power on the customer's part. What we say to patients is, yes, you could do just 1, but why don't you use your insurance as a down payment and work out some convenient monthly payments as low as $80 per month? I could also give you a pill and you could snooze through the appointment and get it all done in 1 day. I have never had a patient say no to that. Furthermore, instead of you doing 1 crown in an hour and having the insurance pay $500 and the patient pay $500, you now have the insurance or the patient paying $1,500 cash, and you work out monthly payments for the $2,500. Yes, you do it in 2 hours, and your cash down payment per hour is $750 per hour. Consider that you were previously doing just $405. This is very good progress. And I almost forgot, you also get $2,500 of high-value short-duration paper that averages out at 13.9%. Oh yes, and you pissed off the insurance company because they don't get to keep all of your patients' money. I'll be introducing Comprehensive Finance, an exclusive payment options tool that is revolutionizing how dental practices operate across the country. But before we get to that, let's dispel some of the key myths that are facing the dentistry industry today. Myth number 1. The most common industry myth that I hear all the time is that access to dental care is a problem. People tend to think we need more dentists, but that really has nothing to do with it. The problem is we don't have attractive financial agreements to empower the patients we see to get full work done. Imagine that you're a salesman selling plasterware in your neighborhood. So your product is in demand and people want it bad, but you only accept full payments. Since the total cost of your product is relatively high and you want the payment in one piece, your neighbors will either have to consider the cheaper salesman or they'll have to look for someone who offers better payment options all the same. This way, you end up missing out on a lot of customer opportunities simply because you're not willing to be innovative on the payment bid. You could have done a lot better by allowing them to pay gradually over months or years. This is sort of the same problem that's making full dental care seem inaccessible to millions of people who need it across the nation. Myth number 2. Another myth that I'm always hearing is that you need large numbers of new patients, tons of new patients, to come in for you to make a living. That's simply not true. Most dentistry firms only feel that way because they're not doing full work on the new patients they're getting, so they think that they need more numbers to increase their bottom line. Again, your existing customers don't have enough money to get the full service done. This is the real problem. Going after bigger numbers is probably going to be more costly and won't plug your revenue shortfalls in the long term. But what if you could focus on building great relationships and then allow patients to make convenient monthly payments to get work done? Hey, what happened to milking your cow proper before you even think about buying milk from elsewhere? Doesn't that sound like a plan? Myth number 3. The third widespread myth I come across is that patients who get a no from Care Credit, Lending Club, and other third-party financiers are bad risk for you. Well, third-party financiers will usually approve A credit and some B credit people, those with a FICO score of 700 and above. But the national average FICO score is only 660 for everyone and 633 for individuals between the ages of 18 and 54. That means a lot of people who need your care might get locked out from such financing. But does that really make them bad business? Should you really lock the door on them and tell them to go somewhere else? Most dentists will avoid this group and invest their efforts and resources on learning new procedures in order to diversify their sources of income. Myth number 4. The last common myth in dentistry is that patients are worried about the cost of dentistry. Why? Because they're asking questions. Questions like, how much will all this cost? What will my insurance cover? But are patients really fee sensitive? Yes, but not for the reason dentists think so. 35 years ago, I had a patient called Mr. Johnson. I charged him $250 for a crown back then, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. A couple years later, the price was up to $450, and he was still, oh my gosh. At $800, same reaction. I realized the truth one day when my pool heater went out. I talked to my pool guy and he said the heater element went out. He told me this little part cost $350, and I said, wow, that's a lot of money. He said that didn't count labor of $175. He said you don't have to do it. I said I want my pool heated, so no worries. But I learned something. When we don't know the cost of something, any figure proposed is always going to be too high. So when you genuinely stomach the idea that patients are concerned about your charges, you're getting it entirely wrong. At the end of your consultation, patients will want to know how much the service is going to cost them. Most times the figure you quote is always going to be too much for them, but I have found a somewhat progressive way of going around this. At the closing of my exam, I'll tell the patient something along the lines of, Bob, I know you probably already know this, but you probably have $10,000 to $12,000 worth of damage in your mouth. It's really critical to use that phrase, I know you probably already knew this, and nod while you're at it. Now, why do I do that? Because I want the patient to understand that they have damage, that they have a lot of work that needs to be done. So what's the patient's response to that going to be? It's important for you to find out, but I've encountered 3 different responses. 1, they're probably going to say, yes, doc, I knew I had a lot of work to be done. No worries. So that means let's just get it done. You know the patient understands it. They're ready to do it. You just got to work out some financial arrangement, which you're good to work with. 2nd, they could say something along the lines of, well, I knew I had a lot of work to do, doc, but I didn't know it was that much. So I'd respond with, I totally understand, Bob. How much you're thinking it would be? Then the patient goes on, well, I thought it might be $7,000 or $8,000. And I reassure them, no worries. You know we have convenient monthly payments that should fit in your budget. 3rd, your patient might say that there's no way they can do that much, and they're going to give you every excuse. 3 kids in college, bankruptcy 2 years ago, fixed income, etc. They're just telling you that there's no way they can go ahead with the service. So, how do you go about this one? Simply ask them what they think they could afford. Whatever figure the patient proposes, tell them that their insurance will cover about $1,500. Tell them that you understand that lots of people over the last few years have a credit issue, and you know a company that can find affordable payments for them, as long as they have good checking account history. That's true because we have great financial options for the remaining balance at Comprehensive Finance. Don't worry, not just yet. You're about to learn more about this incredible solution. You get the point though, right? Remember that the lack of convenient financing options is one key reason why you're not getting the full work done on your customers. So, thinking outside the box and helping out your customers can make a lot of difference. Think, what are my options as a dentist? 83% of dentists surveyed in the past believe they need to lower their fees in the next 3 to 5 years, mostly because of competition. You know, that's easy to identify with. I've seen $500 crowns. I've even seen free implants advertised on billboards. It's kind of like, how low can you go? But lowering prices and offering free services in order to be competitive is one strategy that doesn't work very well for you. Instead, focus on building relationships with patients. Why? Your patients already know that you're a great dentist, and they know you have the technology. Convenient payment arrangement is the only missing link. When you allow monthly payments, your customers can pay without having to sell a kidney, and that makes you a convenient dentist. Have you heard the term commoditization? Everything has become a commodity nowadays because we don't have good financial options. You tell a patient that they need 8 crowns at the cost of $1,200 each. You don't offer any other options. So what happens? The patient goes to get work done by somebody who's cheaper. They opt for what I call the cheapo depot dentistry. Not because that's their first choice, but because they know no other options. That's precisely why I'm emphasizing the importance of having financial options ready at the table for all your customers to feel comfortable. Now, I'll finally delve into the details of Comprehensive Finance, the #1 fastest growing company in dentistry. Comprehensive Finance is also the #1 in-office financing program in the industry. It's a simple financing solution that just might be what your dentistry practice needs to cover the next step. So, how does it work? The name Dr. C is Comprehensive Finance, but we license the name Compassionate Finance for you to present to your patients on their paperwork. Compassionate Finance is based on a rather simple but secure software that the patient in or out of your office can access and directly apply for financing. Within 3 to 5 seconds of the application, we'll give back a response saying approved or call for manual approval. 85 to 90% of patients will be approved. If not, you will call us and we will give you the reason. If the case is a highly leveraged procedure, such as a patient needing $6,000 worth of work, but has $4,000 down, you might want to approve anyway. The patient can then sign online their paperwork and you're good to go. This should be the only financing you offer. Why take a 10% discount from third-party financing when you can make interest? I'll use the example of car dealerships in the US to demonstrate why people are so receptive to comprehensive finance. The average new car costs up to $31,252, while the average used vehicle goes for $18,846. Now, car dealers sell a lot of cars based on gas mileage, additional features, and type of car. But what really triggers the sale is the financing. One thing, and that one thing is, what's in the monthly payment period? End of story. That's what your patients want to know. And if they can make monthly payments, they'll do all the dentistry that needs to be done. So either way, the customer has a way out, whether or not they have cash in the pocket. We started Comprehensive Finance 6 years ago. The main motivation back then was the difficulties after the 2008 recession. I often interacted with patients that weren't able to get the dentistry they needed to get because we had so few financial options available to them. Thinking about it, I realized doctors and dentists have high leverage procedures. That's right, it costs a lot for a patient to have a crown done. For instance, $1,200, but it might only cost the dentist $100. I didn't see a reason why we couldn't create a solution to help doctors offer their own financing. Well, what we came up with, which has really changed the way things have happened in dentistry. I mean, we now have over $90 million in loans over the last 5 years, working on more than 50,000 patients. What we really do at Comprehensive Finance is help patients with their convenient monthly payments that make it easier for them to get their dentistry done. And as long as the patient pays a certain down payment, it covers the heart of the procedure. We recommend at least 20% down, but depending on the procedure, it could be more or less. We have offices that make more money in down payments than they used to produce. Impressed? You should be. The dentist is no longer at risk of losing money, and it really becomes more about their time and not so much about the money. As it goes, the money takes care of itself. For years, banks have known that the interests offset risks. So we started a vibrant company that cuts your risks and keeps your customers and gave it a benefiting name, ComprehensiveFinance.com. The core function of our team at Comprehensive Finance is to manage the payments so that you can focus on your service. When a patient misses a payment, we ring them and get them back on track. 97% of patients who miss a payment are back paying within 21 days. What else? We take pride in being one of the most customer-accommodative finance companies in America. Yes, our flexible arrangements uniquely empower the patient to fulfill their commitment. If a patient misses a single payment, we'll catch them up and hear them out. If the situation calls for it, we might give them a month off and extend their payment period, effectively lowering their monthly payments. No other finance company in the country does that. Not that we're a finance company anyway, per se. There's no money that changes hands. We just collect payments, deduct our fee for collecting, and send the rest to the doctor. On average, we currently pay out 96.2% of the practice's usual fee, and that's after all defaults and fees. We've been this way for a long time, and it's worked perfectly well for both the dentist and the patient. Bring comprehensive finance to your office and increase your productivity. Visit www.comprehensivefinance.com or dial 866-964-4727 to get set up.